Heaven just knows what it was. Will I go back to the place where I belong? Everyone could break my heart, but I try my best to not fall apart. And I find it hard to let go. The memories keep me together. Gotta fight till the end, no pressure, no pressure. And I find it hard to say no to the ones who want something better, to the ones who never say no.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Apollo Racing Club Indycar iRacing series. Tonight I am joined by my co-caster Nick. How are you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing really well. Excited to see Watkins Glen in action.
Yeah, so this is round 9 of the Apollo Racing Club iRacing IndyCar series. We are at Watkins Glen in none other than Watkins Glen, New York. It is a 5.4 kilometer track in length. We're running the boot circuit. So the boot is usually one of the trickier parts of this track, at least for me. No, Nick hasn't had enough time to run it so much himself. But Watkins Glen is one of those tracks everybody's familiar with, so we're definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this. We talked a little earlier about the rescan by iRacing, so this will be a new challenge for these drivers who maybe haven't had enough time to practice on this newer version of Watkins Glen.
Right, and as somebody who never got to run the older version, and I've run a very limited number of laps on this newer version, but I've seen broadcasts and pictures of both and read about it a little bit. These newer iRacing tracks are pretty awesome. When they do a full rescan, you get obviously the new surface, the updated surface, how it is in real life. Typically with tracks like Watkins Glen, the last time they were scanned was a number of years ago. So when you get something like this, you get better graphics, numerous things that just add to that immersion and kind of the enjoyable experience here. So definitely could throw some curveballs to some of these guys that have run a lot of laps on the old scan.
Well, as you talk about curveballs, we're into qualifying here, halfway done. You can see up there at the top two familiar names, Joseph DuPont, and then 0.019 seconds behind David McCourt. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is your starting two. Those guys looking really strong here.
Yeah, and I ran a couple of laps in practice and talked to some of these guys, and David did not seem too confident in his qualifying pace. I don't know if he was just playing a little bit of a game with Andrew Cerwick, but Andrew Cerwick was a number of positions ahead of David McCourt in practice. They kind of friendly jousted over it a little bit. You know, Andrew Cerwick coming off the win at Michigan International Speedway last week, trying to make that very tough miracle push to get back to the top of that championship points battle, but it's going to be tough. As we know, David McCourt is an absolute alien on these road courses. We've seen a number of races this year where he's just run away from the field, and Joseph DuPont's usually right there with him, but he's had a few more sprinkles of bad luck throughout this season.
And we're on board with David starting his flying lap here. So he'll be looking to take that first position. While we were talking, though, Tanner Long jumped up to that top 5 position. So he may have time to retain that. But there we see James Williamson with the purple setting that time, and he'll be in first position.
Yeah, James Williamson, I mentioned him last week. He's been quick, but he's also had his fair share of bad luck, and nothing has fallen in his lap yet. Tonight could be the night for him. And another thing I do want to mention, if you look in the field, you may see a familiar but also new name, and that's Keegan Scott running the number 8 car back in P13 right now. That's our other commentator that joins us on these broadcasts. Like myself, getting to choose one race, and I ran Laguna Seca. This is the track he picked, so it's one of his favorites. Hopefully he is quick and can put in a faster time here.
And we're still on board with David McCourt. He's putting together a pretty good lap here. I saw him seem to get a little hesitant in 4th gear earlier, and you can see him maybe getting a little loose here, going to exceed a bit of a track limit, but still 2.5 minutes to get that car up into P1.
And there's a number of guys here that we obviously saw compete for a lot of the race last week on the oval at Michigan, but a lot of guys have been running pretty fast times in practice. That 26.7 is going to be tough to beat from what I saw. And James, I think, topped the practice leaderboard as well. So David McCourt is going to have to push quite a bit out of his next flying lap here. As you see, he puts in a new fast time at 26.8, so he's not too far off. Hopefully those reds come in a little bit more and don't start to fall off on him, so he can put in that time with under 2 minutes left to go here in qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying so important, trying to be in that leading position. And we've seen David McCord, if you can time that restart well and get away from the pack, you seem to just pull away throughout the race. So this is almost just as important as a fight as the first 5 laps for most of these guys. Just getting in that top 5 is going to be so vital to the rest of the race.
Right, and as we see here, Keegan Scott coming out of the final corner with 3 green sectors that lap, so this should be a good one. Where does he put it? He jumps up to P8. Not bad for Keegan. I know he wants a little bit more than that, though.
Well, good run. And with just under a minute remaining, it's going to be tough to get any higher, but it just becomes how will you push that car on this final flying lap for these guys. I'm sure McCourt wants to be up 1 position higher, but maybe he feels confident that with the right strategy, like we talk about every week from him, he can get it done. You saw 2 yellows there, not going to be enough. So he'll stay in P2 for the time being. It's just who's going to make that big jump. And Joseph DuPont, 4 yellows in a row, he'll stay. So it seems that on this last 30-second part, people are kind of running out of steam with a lot of yellows.
Yeah, definitely true. One name I do want to note, and part of it because I was involved in it. If you guys remember at the round we had at Laguna Seca, a man by the name of Charles Bertrand lost control of the car leaving the pits. I've since recovered from that concussion, and Charles was new to iRacing, not to sim racing, so I've been told at the time, but it seems like he's been putting his reps in as he puts it in P3 in qualifying. So Charles showing a bit of improvement just within the last couple weeks. That should be pretty exciting.
Well, something to note about Charles Bertrand, he was running pretty well in that Laguna Seca race, so it was just an untimely throttle control issue there that caused that big wreck for the leaders. Unfortunately, you were involved, but overall, I would expect him to have a pretty strong day.
Right, and my comment by no means was saying he was off pace or anything. To be honest with you, I had no clue where he was at. My eyes were all focused on David McCourt, but that's pretty much the same story every week, so nothing new there.
Well, we have wrapped up qualifying. Cars making their way back to pit road, and we're going to get them gridded for this race here at Watkins Glen.
And James Williamson putting it on pole. That should stick. Here we've got, I believe, Tanner Long finishing out his lap. He does not gain any positions off of that. And we mention it every broadcast too, but that Bitcoin car is just awesome. Hopefully the price rises tonight.
Yeah, we've talked about almost every week. He seems to fight up to the top 5, and then something seems to go wrong, but hopefully back here on the road course after that Michigan race, which was very exciting, but hopefully this one can get more in his favor.
And someone, speaking of bad luck, and who's always fighting there up front, but they never fail to seem to go a race without bad luck, is Eric Oliva, as we see, I believe, on track now. Is that who we're looking at? It is. He had his fair share of bad luck for sure last week. He got up back to the pack multiple times and continued to get involved in incidents. So hopefully everyone around him and himself can keep it clean tonight, and he can go get a good finish because he deserves it.
Yeah, but we see 3 green sectors, so as I say it, a yellow, but maybe he could still move up a bit on the board.
I don't know that he put a time in.
Oh, I see, yeah. Ran out of time. Well, that happens. Unfortunately, it seemed like he had a pretty controlled lap, but nonetheless, we will move on to the race.
I'm not quite sure what our field size is tonight. I've been told it's between 20 and 22 drivers, which is a pretty large field for the Apollo Racing Club on the road courses. A lot of these guys struggle a little bit, but they've been putting in the hours. I've seen a lot of them hopping on throughout the week, getting some reps in, and it should be a good one. We're going to read off the starting grid here. James Williamson going to be leading the field to green here at Watkins Glen, starting on the pole with over a tenth behind him back to P2, David McCord on his outside. Charles Bertrand, P3, Joseph Dupont and Jake Jackson rounding out your top 5.
Yep, and then we'll go to Andrew Cerwick, always strong. John Krauser, Tanner Long in 8th. Keegan Scott, shout out, in 9th place. And then Nick Jadu rounding out your top 10.
And then we got Matthew Rice in P11, followed up by Mark Feeney, rounding out row 6. Derek Stack, RJ Conley, and Cody Barrett rounding out that top 15, followed by Daniel Taskey, Joe Fierro, Craig Bray, Eric Oliva, Mark Harrison, and not me. I just ran a few laps in practice, so I'm assuming that means Jack is not racing either. So that makes a field of 20 cars set to grid here tonight, and we're ready to go racing.
Well, we talked a little earlier about passing zones as the field is going to get released and take that one pace lap. Into turn 1 is going to be risky to say the least. They're going up that embankment, and then they go straight towards the 90, it's called, turn number 1. You're going to want to look to make a pass going either into the inner loop or out into the outer loop. And then you can think about doing something turn 10, turn 11, and then you've made a lap. So it seems like that front half is going to be way more important than when you're kind of stuck behind the guy in front of you in the back half.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the big passing zones are obviously following the S's. So turns 2 and 3 are the S's, and turn 4 is really where you can make up ground as you head down the backstretch into that inner loop, like you said. But after that, it's kind of follow the leader until you get another good passing zone. A lot of the passing here is going to be made by getting better corner exits and getting somebody in the draft. The draft is huge here, but my biggest point, I guess, of risk, the spot to watch tonight, I picked one last week in Michigan, quite easier, 25% chance to get it right. But tonight, I would say that inner loop, or the bus stop as some call it, is a spot to watch. If people go 2x2 in there, side by side, we could see some danger.
Well, going back about a month now, my first race commentating for the Apollo Racing Club was at Road America. And I remember before the race, we had discussed that it would be some of that follow the leader mentality. And that was not the way it worked out. People were going for moves at almost every corner. It was a wild race. So I wouldn't be surprised if when they have a bit of an advantage, a run on the car in front of them, that they go for it.
For sure. And I would say be on the lookout on this first lap for what James Williamson does setting the pace for this field. It is a big deal that he's starting on the pole with David McCord on his outside, but he's got to be very sure to not give that up and let David McCord run away with this one, as we've seen many times before. So that is his point of focus, is keep that red car behind. You do not want him in front of you, because you know eventually he'll beat you on strategy. And it looks like they're starting on the same tires, so already off to a good start for James Williamson.
Yep, so we just passed the outer loop, and now we're going to turn 6, the chute. So getting a nice little tour before we get these cars up and rolling at a lot higher speeds.
So it seems like a lot of our drivers tonight have opted to start on the black primary tires, at least for as the leaders go. Again, if you are new to this broadcast or to IndyCar in general, that black tire is the harder compound tire, so it's going to take a little bit longer for it to get up to temperature, but it's going to last quite a bit longer than the other option, the red alternates. But we are coming around now, and I believe we've got 2 turns to go until the green flag is thrown.
Yeah, they're heading into turn 8 very slowly, but building anticipation. I'm sure the drivers are feeling it, especially, like we said, that front row. A lot going to be decided head into turn 1 and then getting up to speed. But we know behind them, that middle of the pack area has been dangerous, and I'm sure it will prove to be dangerous again. So hopefully they can keep it clean throughout these first few laps.
Yep, and it looks like they're making their way now. The pace car will be pulling off soon, and we'll be on our way to 39 laps of non-stop racing action here at Watkins Glen. Fuel stints will be around 15 laps, so it's going to be a 2-stop race. Not really much you can do to stretch it out to 1. So strategy should play a little bit less of a factor tonight, unless you get caught up in something.
Well, getting caught up in something is pretty easy here, pretty narrow, not too many spaces to go when there is a problem. But pace lights out, and we're ready to get racing here soon.
And the pace car pulls off. James Williamson will set the pace and lead the field to green, with David McCourt following close behind here at Watkins Glen International. James Williamson, big jump, aggressive move by Andrew Cerwick, looking inside, back to the outside. James Williamson already pulling a gap behind. Cerwick, a couple cars off track in turn 1.
Yeah, they're trying to get that straight line, just fall into line quickly. You don't want to get shuffled out through these first few turns, but David McCourt did a good job there. And as you can see, the Bitcoin car trying to go for a move here. That was Andrew Cerwick.
They keep it clean through the inner loop. Somewhat. Williamson, a little bit of a cut, some landscaping, as I say. He probably did get a slowdown there, but it looks like he's not doing much right now. So maybe he got away scot-free, luckily. But Joseph DuPont is there and ready to attack.
Charles Bertrand and John Krauser headed to the back of the field. Keegan Scott as well, collected in an incident. We missed that here, but unfortunate for him. He's in the pits already on lap 1.
Well, when hopefully we get settled down a little bit, we can go back and check out that replay. Unfortunate for Keegan and Charles there. I know that's going to kill Keegan, man. He was super excited to run this one race this season. So unfortunate for our fellow commentary buddy, but hopefully he can get back in this one. David McCourt still out front of James Williamson, followed by Joseph DuPont, Andrew Cerwick, and Jake Jackson. That's your top 5 through, almost through lap 1 here at Watkins Glen, as Williamson bangs the last corner wall. Hopefully he doesn't have any damage there.
Yeah, well, just amazing. I wonder how that's going to turn out. You can see David McCourt already pulling a 1-second interval between him and second place. So going through the grass there may have cost him big time in the scheme of these 37 remaining laps.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph DuPont's got to do everything he can right now to get out ahead of James Williamson, or that gap is going to continue to open up. It looks like DuPont wants to just settle and sit down right behind him. I don't know if he's on some sort of fuel save or trying some, I guess, alternate strategy, but like I said, DuPont's got to get by him or McCourt's going to run away with this one. And I know it sounds crazy to say a lap and a half into this race, but we've seen it time and time again. You don't want to let that man in the red get away.
Yeah, well, the top 5 about the same as it was. I think Tanner Long may have moved back 1 position, but everyone seems to be getting in that straight line as they were seeing Matthew Rice leading this pack of cars. So just stay in line, use the draft. Pit sequence is going to be right around the corner for these drivers, and that's where you're going to make up some spots for sure. So yeah, Jake Jackson still in 5th, but the guys behind him probably off of off-track passes with other people getting collected in incidents. 3 people already out of this one, 17 remaining. So just stay in your lane, don't do anything crazy. But here we see Joseph DuPont possibly going for a crazy move into turn 1, the 90 we talked about, and he made that one stick. And I think James Williamson may be a little reluctant to fight that only 3 laps in.
Yeah, Joseph DuPont's going to have a great rest of his stint here, though. He's also on the black primary tires, as is David McCourt. So to make up that 3-second gap that McCourt's built up is going to be a tough task. As you saw a little bit ago, we got a quick glimpse of that mid-pack race there, that worm in the middle of the field with Matthew Rice being the gatekeeper with 5 or 6 cars close behind. So I'm sure there's some good racing going on back there as Derek Stack is looking to chase him down into, I believe that is Laces, turn 6.
So David McCourt seems to be pulling an interval 1 second per lap at this point. It's just, will that continue we saw last time at Road America, I mentioned he was 1 minute and 3 seconds ahead of second place. So I would not be surprised if by the end he's around that 40-second mark. That's just how dominant he is in clean air with, you know, the whole track to work with.
Yeah, and he did win by a large margin there, but granted, that track is almost twice as long as this one, we have to remember. So if he keeps up the same pace tonight as he did at Road America, he's going to come upon some lapped cars, some lap traffic, which is going to make it a little bit tougher on him. Now, David McCourt, of course, has a lot of respect from the other drivers in this league, so I'm sure some of them would let him go by, but it is going to make it tougher on him. It's going to make it a little bit tougher on his tires. And speaking of tires, I'm interested to see how long these blacks can last here throughout this first stint. You see Tanner Long on board, trying to make a move on the outside of Jake Jackson. That's the battle for P5. Someone's going to have to back out going into the loop here, and they decide to go side by side.
Wow. Well, we saw it earlier. Tanner Long sending it through turn 1. He dragged the brakes a bit, locked up that rear tires, but there he made it stick. And I'm wondering if Jake Jackson tried to avoid that.
Oh, and you see Joseph DuPont drop down the leaderboard. Here's the onboard. Get a replay of it. What happened here? He just clipped a little too much of the curb and a little too much throttle too early. So unfortunate for Joseph DuPont. Again, he shows pace week in and week out, but the mistakes add up, and that's not what you want to see.
Well, I hate to bring up the past, but around this lap at Michigan last week, he sent himself out of the race on a single car spin like that. So it's just that throttle control is about the same thing there too. So, you know, conservative play is the way to go on lap 4 with new tires just getting accumulated to the race. But he's in the pits, so we'll see if he can make it back out on track.
What happened to Keegan here? Was this earlier on in the race? It looks like that was Keegan on lap 1. Unfortunate for him, but we know he is now back on track, doing his best he can to put in some times and make up a couple positions.
And here's DuPont again on board. You can see right about there, he was
just
trying to get that car to stick.
Too.
Yeah. So a combination of errors sends him into the wall. That tire's off. He's got to get the tow back to the pits, but unfortunate. And just to make a correction, I believe Joseph DuPont was running second, so that's going to move the top 5 up, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So Jake Jackson kind of got a 2-for-1 there. He did pass, or I'm sorry, Tanner Long. He passed Jake Jackson, and then right before that is when DuPont went off. So he likes what's happening on the leaderboard right now.
Right, and I know you mentioned talking about the DuPont incident. Throttle control is tough in these cars. Probably one of the hardest things about them, at least on the sim, because power steering is not something you really miss when you're on a simulator, but that throttle control is tough to get down, especially on the road courses. The rear end of this car really wants to step out on you. And if you're familiar with iRacing or the Indycar and iRacing, there are 8 fuel maps you can use for this car. So I decided to chime in the league chat a little earlier on in this week and give my 2 cents of advice to these drivers to help them. You'd think, hey, fuel map 1 is the green flag map. That is true, but that's for ovals. You actually want to run map 6 or map 7 in this car on the road courses. It does not give you any cut or decrease to power. It's just a different throttle shape. So map 6 is kind of more of your exponential throttle shape, where you start really low and then you start to ramp up at a lot more of a rapid pace, and you get that power on the high end, but it allows you to get a little bit of extra grip on the low end. So I'm wondering if Joseph DuPont was running one of those alternate throttle maps there or not. If he was, he could have had a better chance to make that stick, but hopefully that tip helped out drivers a little bit, because I remember when I first heard that, I was like, what? I thought it was just fuel maps, but no. Throttle maps, big deal in this IR18.
And still pretty close battle, 5th or about 9th, as Keegan's going to let them go past, but yeah, good race. And now David McCourt, like I said, on lap 6, now he's 7 seconds ahead. So I might have it perfectly mapped out with a 40-second interval by lap 39. Now? I might.
I think that's a good estimate. Oh, we see Nick Jadou involved in an incident with Cody Barrett, I believe. Yeah, Cody Barrett. And I'm still not sure what that livery is.
Might be beans, honestly.
Is it beans? Is it pizza?
I think it's beans. That's a big joke.
It looks like pepperoni pizza. Either
Well,
way, that was some cheese.
Yeah, you could say cheese.
Oh, he just gets tapped. And not too different from what we saw that Verizon 5G car do in real life this past year, unfortunately. But a little bit of bumping action there. You might see a little bit more of that when the NASCAR Cup Series runs this track. Although they don't run this boot configuration. So as you see on screen, that bottom right sector of the track, also known as the boot, I don't believe is run in the NASCAR Cup Series. Probably a good thing.
Yeah, it might be a little too tight for their next-gen cars coming here. But the Indy cars do it well, and David McCourt still doing well, now 7.6 seconds ahead. And it's just on Andrew Cerwick. I mean, we see James Williamson a second behind. It's just when is he going to make that move? And you might think it would be after the first pit sequence, because there's not really much to gain here, just fighting out with your tires.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Andrew, you're gonna have to try and undercut him. But David McCourt has been in clean air, leading the pack, and definitely burning a little bit more fuel. So if David McCourt shorts Andrew Cerwick and pits a little earlier, like he did to me, which kind of screwed me over a little bit, Andrew's gonna be in a tough spot because you do not want to go run your in lap while McCourt is putting on fresh tires, because he's really good at those in and out laps, and he's going to make up time on you there. Looking back at the Laguna race, that's how he pulled 7 seconds on me in the first sequence. So Cerwick is going to have to start thinking about that one as we are about halfway to the window for our first pit stop.
Well, we were on board with Jake Jackson. He was unfortunately the second place finisher at Michigan last week. He had a great race up front the whole time, but just bested. The final interval was .027, so pretty wild finish for that race. But here he's running in 7th, and hopefully he can keep it on the track. He did a pretty good job of that last week.
Oh man, and just looking at that track map, it is just a long string of cars all running together. Pretty impressive to still have 14 cars on the lead lap of this race. I know we're only 8 laps in, but these IndyCar road races are tough, man. And for these drivers to all be running that close to each other, staying clean, keeping the nose off of the car in front of you, it's a feat, man. It's not easy to do, especially at a tight course like Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and there you see the lap by lap, and that for Nick Jadu could be that tire burn off if he was using them just a little too aggressively, giving Mark Feeney some green sectors at the back end, 5, 6, 7.
So Keegan Scott still back in P18, trying to chase down Charles Bertrand a little bit as he heads down the front stretch into the 90th, turn 1. Bunch of traffic here. Hopefully he can scrounge up another couple positions out of this, but it's going to be tough for him. Again, like we did with myself when I was on track, we will catch up with Keegan after his first pit stop. Let him get that out lap in so he's not out on ice cold tires. Let him settle in a little bit, but we'll talk to him, see what he thinks about that early incident, and what he thinks he can do in the rest of this one.
Yeah, but we're looking at RJ Conley. He's pulled pretty close to Jake Jackson in front of him, just under 0.5 seconds. As the rear gets a little loose there, he's going to slow down and lose about 1.5 seconds. So maybe just a little overambitious or dirty air going through that one.
And that's the question I want to beg is if we're looking for these guys to pit around lap 15 or so, and he's on the black primary tires and they're sliding like that already, we'll see if it's a consistent thing going on. But if they're starting to slide already like that, can you imagine what it's going to be like when these guys get on the red tire?
Yeah, especially at the end of the race. Hopefully you keep the car under control more than you were at the beginning, because it's going to be rough driving around on those. Like you have mentioned before, you have to use both at least once. So that'll be interesting to see them manage that with the red tires.
The close battle we've got going on now is the battle for P6, who is currently Derek Stack, but Jake Jackson not too far behind, and RJ Conley following him like we just got a look at last lap. But they are hunting him down. They're both within about 0.5 seconds of the car in front. And these cars are equipped with push to pass, which I know we've talked about a little bit in some of our past broadcasts, but unlike real life, push to pass in iRacing is a little bit different for these Indy cars. In real life, you get a certain number of seconds allotted of push to pass, which is a boost in horsepower, to use throughout a race. In iRacing, it's the same every track, no matter where you go. You get 10 uses, and I believe it's 20 seconds of that extra 50 horsepower. You get 10 uses the whole race. You burn a little bit more fuel, but you definitely get a lot of speed against your competitors. So if one of these guys decides to push that button here, we could see some action.
Yeah, it's just going to be getting in that draft, that slipstream, and then using that at the right time, right place, and not sending it too fast into the next turn, as we see just a single car spin. Unfortunate to hit the wall, lose his front wing, and get that tire a little sideways. That was Mark Feeney. So
unfortunate for Mark, too. He ran a heck of a race at Michigan last week, fought a little bit up there as well. But he's going to try and limp this one back. If I were him, I would just tow. But maybe his tire is not flopping around like that on his screen, so he thinks he can poke it back in the pits.
So first we'll see this. RJ Conley looking to the outside. Jake Jackson might have to give it to him here. Here we go through the S's, and he will.
Jake
RJ
pulled out
Conley.
a little bit.
Yeah, probably the smart move. You got a long way to go. No need to force side-by-side action through there.
Yeah, you do not want to hold hands through that inner loop at all.
Exactly. Not worth it. So I was going to talk about push to pass, just with you being so close to IndyCar in real life and maybe speaking with some drivers. In Formula E, I was looking through racing Twitter. There is something called the fan vote. So fans will, in real time, vote to give basically a push to pass in Formula E to a specific driver. Do you think that that's a good thing, or do you think it's kind of gimmicky?
I mean, of course, I think it's kind of gimmicky, right? I like to see a level playing field, and that's why I enjoy IndyCar, as I'm sure many others do for that reason. You like to see guys be able to go out and compete and have the same chance as others do, other than maybe your setup. But that's all on your engineers. I think it is pretty cool, though. It's also kind of funny, but the thing I really don't like about it is it kind of brings politics into the sport, right? You could be a really good driver, but not very well liked, and you're never getting that vote.
Yeah, on their website, it's called Fan Boost. Vote to give your favorite driver an extra power boost. And in watching one of their streams, they were talking about how important it was. Someone got it, made a pass, and then he finished above that racer. So very interesting to see how those happen.
Definitely very interesting. I had not heard about that, so thanks for sharing that with everybody. I didn't know there was anything like that in any race series, so it is pretty cool, though.
Yeah, it seems like very futuristic, right? Live.
Right.
Extra horsepower. But that's what you get when you get those electric cars. You can kind of manipulate it through a computer. Pretty interesting.
It makes me think of, like, Rocket League. I don't know why. For some reason, those cars look like rocket ships, and just thinking of them getting extra boost over their opponents, especially from people voting on them, is kind of crazy. Oh, man, and Jake Jackson barely squeezes that up the inside of RJ Conley to take back P7. What a pass.
Yeah, really good pass. We saw it through the S's. He let him go there. He's going to retake the lead of RJ Conley, but Conley coming back for more, only 0.3 seconds behind. And this might be a push to pass sequence. I'm not sure if we could see from the onboard, but I feel like this is a good opportunity to maybe close that gap a little.
If I were him, I would use it out of turn one, because you get a huge run up the S's behind someone. It's flat out all the way through turns one, all the way to the inner loop. So, and just a little bit of a lift there. As you see, he is catching pace, and he does not have push to pass activated. So now he is going to opt for that outside again. Deja vu. Will Jake Jackson back out this time, though? And he does.
Yeah, once again, the smart move. Well, we're on lap 13. Just call myself out of it. David McCord is not 13 seconds ahead of second place, so maybe my prediction was off, but you never know. We've got a long way to go. Something could happen to the rest of the field, but David McCord's still in a commanding 8-second lead, as we're where you projected about 5 laps from that pit window.
Right, and here we got a replay of Mark Harrison. Oh, just losing it in the final corner. It looks like he didn't even turn the car.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe a steering wheel disconnect. The way that looked, it was just straight at it, no pedal action. But he will get that quick repair and head back out.
Well, if he lives by the motto on his rear wing, he just may not have seen that one coming. But Mark Harrison fast, on board. Yeah. Here's the replay of this one. Just understeered. No braking, no downshifting. I wonder if it was a hardware issue or anything there, but not much of an effort to make that right-hander.
Yeah, may have just missed his braking point. And there we see Keegan Scott just made up a position on Charles Bertrand. So Keegan fighting his way back up, still a few laps down possibly, but making it work. So
now, if we could get an onboard ride with Andrew Cerwick or David McCourt, see what these fast guys up front are dealing with at this stage in the stint with those black tires. Again, they are the harder compound tires, so they should last a bit longer than the reds, which we'll see them on at some point in this race. But at this stage, these blacks might be a little tough. You see him hesitant on the throttle there. Man, that just looks brutal as he heads into the right-hander turn 8 here, the heel of the boot. It's one of the tougher corners, especially this next one, number 9. It's real easy to misjudge the braking zone here and send it deep into that bright blue wall.
Yeah, we saw a few cars, especially side by side, having that happen. But good control there from Andrew Cerwick. So he can come out of turn 11 and complete lap number 15.
Yeah, and he's definitely getting after it. He does not want McCourt to open up that gap any further, but I think McCourt did by about a quarter of a second on the last lap. So easy breezy, David McCourt still up there leading the field, nowhere in sight. He is going to be coming up on the 73 car soon, though, and here we got another replay of Keegan Scott. Looks to the inside and just gets a little bit loose, a little too much curb there. Before the replay's not over, but I hope he keeps it clean here. He's a smart guy. He's not going to pull out in front of anybody. So Keegan keeps it clean. Hopefully no under tray damage, and he will be back on his way. But he's going to have to hunt down Charles Bertrand again.
Yep, side by side there, trying to judge where you are on the curb versus the car next to you, leaving them room, but also have to leave yourself room. Right. And going at these speeds is pretty tough. Right,
and we have our first taker to pit for not an incident. Jake Jackson, he is pitting out now. He was running up, I believe, in P5 or P6, and now he is back out on track at P12 through the sequence. So if he can make up some time here, he should be all right. He has Daniel Taskey, I believe, in front of him. So he's got some ground to make up. Hopefully he can get a jump on these guys up front when they pit. Good undercut strategy from Jake Jackson. But we also got our 2 leaders coming in right now and P3.
Yep, top 3. It seems like everyone's going to follow the leader here. 4 and 5 go in, 6. This is the time to pit. So lap 16. So keep an eye on that. They're going to be going to that red compound, and we're going to see how long it lasts. We talked about the whites lasting a while, and they didn't seem to last 16 laps. A few cars spinning and just trying to make sure they're keeping it under control. But David McCourt, no issues in pit road. He's going to jump back out into the lead and try and build that gap on cold tires.
Right, and it was a pit party there. Everybody took it on that lap, so it looks like that is the lap to look out for, the end of lap 15. But McCourt opts for the reds here, which is very interesting. So he's probably going to have a little bit of a shorter stint here. Honestly, a surprising way to go with it for some of these guys opting for reds. If this is me, I'm, of course, a big strategy guy. I'm an engineer, so I like to think methodically. I would have gone ahead and got my 2 black runs out of the way because they're going to last long. You can run the tank dry with them. But those red tires, you're just not going to get as many laps out of them. So there's no need to fuel more than you have to on the reds. When you take the reds in this middle stint, you're probably filling up your whole tank while you take them. And then you're going to short fuel for the last stint because it's going to be a lot shorter. And then you're going to be on the blacks again, which is the slower tires. So in my eyes, you want to take the reds last so you don't have to guess that fuel number in your middle stint. And you know that you're going to be shorter than 18.5 gallons max capacity on fuel for that last one and on the quicker tires, so you can make up a lot of ground. So I think anybody who took the black primary tire on that first stop is a winner in this one, but David McCourt seems to never be wrong, so could be another night of me being wrong.
Oh, side by side once again, Jake Jackson next to Oliva. Jackson stayed on the outside that whole lap. That was pretty impressive. And he's going to have a run into the next turn and take that pretty easily. And then we see Matthew Rice headed to pit lane. So he'll be one lap off the rest of the competitors, as he will opt for a new set of tires, some extra fuel. But David McCourt, maybe he thought that this is his chance to pull away, but so far only making up a second. So still 9 seconds, not that much. If you were to have an issue on pit road, maybe overdrive that pit stall, you never know what could happen. But for now, still in a commanding lead.
Right, and I'm curious to see what tire compound Cerwick opted for. If he's on the reds, we'll see him probably keep up pace with David McCourt, but if he's on the blacks, McCourt's going to pull that lead out a little bit, and then Cerwick's going to have a shorter run in the third and final stint of this race to try and make up ground. But David McCourt can build that gap now. He's going to be smooth sailing until the end.
So Matthew Rice made a pit exit. So 11 cars on the lead lap at the moment. That could change quickly.
I thought Matthew Rice had pitted with those guys when they all came in, so I don't know if he got banged up a little bit and had to come back in, or yeah, he's got 2 stops, so he had to come back in for some reason. I don't know that we've got a replay of that one, but unfortunate for Matthew Rice as he drops down the ladder a little bit to P13.
Well, as we said, we will get Keegan in here pretty soon. He's making his pit stop right now down in 16th. So after 1 or 2 laps back on the track, we can talk to him, see how he's feeling, and talk about some unfortunate incidents early in the race that's forced him back to that bottom of the barrel spot he's at right now.
Right. Now, I'm interested to see what tires Keegan takes here as well. I know he's back pretty far in the field. I know he's probably wanting to make up some ground. We'll see if he opts for the primaries, which it looks like he does. So I would be really intrigued if we could get an onboard of this outlap on these black primary tires. It's going to be slick. And then we can talk to him about it, like you said.
Well, last time we were on board with someone was at Laguna Seca. It was you. I want to bring up the into the corkscrew move that Keegan was encouraging. Any hard feelings on that, or it was just a racing incident?
No hard feelings on that. I left. I think that was Matthew Rice, actually. I went to the outside, left him plenty of space, and he just misjudged it, went over the kitty litter a little bit, and couldn't make the corner. So I think the ballsy move there was into turn 5 up the inside. Maybe a little bit of karma for me, but there was nothing I did going into the corkscrew that I think kind of called for an incident. It was hard racing, right? So things happen on the racetrack. Keegan Scott, though, he's looking to get after it on this outlap on these black tires. He's actually doing a pretty smooth job right now. And now we've got Keegan on the radio. How are you doing, Keegan? How are you feeling about the start of this race? I know you got caught up in something early, but what's running through your mind right now?
Very slick track, honestly. We were chatting about it, and it's a very hot track today. Tire deg is a bit higher than any of us were expecting that we were practicing throughout the week. Oh, that's a bit wide. But it's been a tough one so far, honestly.
Yeah, no, we didn't get a huge or a great look at that first incident you were involved in. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there? I know you may not want to talk about it, but I'm just a little curious.
No, it's all right. So, what happened from my perspective, at least, was that I saw everyone in front of me start checking up. I don't know who exactly was in front of me. I forgot who it was. I think it was... No, it wasn't Daniel. Someone was directly in front of me. They checked up a little bit earlier than I was expecting, and I just didn't have time to throw on the brakes. I tried to get off the track to avoid him, but no, I just ended up sliding right into the back of him as my brakes locked up.
Yeah, and then we saw a few laps to go before the pit stop. I think it was that turn, actually. You got on the curve just a little too much. Was that just making sure you left room to the outside, or maybe you hit the throttle a little too hard when you were on the curb?
So that was of the nature of, I didn't want to get too far outside because I knew I had someone in the top 10 on my outside, and I knew I'm running outside the top 10. But I also was fighting someone for position right behind me, so I didn't really want to let off the gas too badly. So I tried to leave as much room on the outside for the top 10 guy as I could without, you know, sacrificing my own line. But I just kind of gassed it up a little bit too much, overestimated how much tire life I had left, and just right around.
Yeah, we've seen a few other cars do that at the end of that pit cycle. Well, good luck the rest of the race. We'll be catching up with you possibly later, but for now, good luck. Have a good drive.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Can't wait.
It's unfortunate I can't keep you forever because I'd really like to egg you on into a questionable move here like you did to me, but good luck. Go get him. You're chasing down
I'm
Daniel
sure.
Taskey right now. Hey, man, I got confidence in you. Go run him down. The Tiffany Blue does wonders, doesn't it?
Yeah, I got 18 push-to-passes left. Let's go. Or, sorry, 8 push-to-passes left. Let's go.
Go get him, man.
Well, that was great talking to him. While we're at a bit of a down moment, the closest battle is between Tanner Long with Derek Stack right behind him. But we do want to talk to you about Driver 61. Driver 61 is Europe's largest racing school, and they've entered the sim racing market. So if you're interested in getting some coaching lessons, you can head over to driver61.com and use discount code ARCDriver61 for 25% all their services.
Yeah, Driver 61 is definitely a great tool to help you get better at sim racing if you're in the mood for it. I know all of us, a big reason we do this is we like to see ourselves improve, right? So definitely a useful tool. I'm sure some of these guys in the league use it, and that's why we're seeing a lot of close and quick battles here. Guys keeping it clean all around each other. We got on board with Derek Stack chasing down Tanner Long for that third position through the inner loop. Man, those curbs look brutal.
Yeah, it's so tough. He's on the reds, but you can still see him being a little hesitant. There's no reason to push too hard when that tire's there, but he does want to keep this gap close to third place.
Yeah, and these red alternate tires are pretty much at the peak of their life right now. We saw these guys pit just over 5 laps ago. Again, these stints are around 15 laps. Oh, we got a replay here real quick. Nick Jadu clips a little bit of the grass into the inner loop. Just loses it again. We've seen a couple cars now on exit of the loop there. Just throw it around in a circle, as I like to say. Unfortunate for Nick Jadu again.
Yeah, you can see maybe from this onboard, when he was going through this turn right there, it seems he lost the balance of the car, tried to save it, and that's when he went around, but very dangerous.
I think he was just trying to make up time from the slow entry there after clipping the grass, and he was on the throttle a little too early over that inside curb, which I've found from my few laps. You kind of got to flip the throttle a little bit there, because once you make the car hop, the rear end goes up in the air, and it tries to settle back down again once it's on the ground, wants to spin. We've got a real close battle for third here, again between Tanner Long and Derek Stack. Derek Stack's closed that gap down to only 0.4 of a second. Now they head down the back straightaway into that bus stop. Derek Stack can get a good exit here. We might see a move from the man in the purple and white.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. He knows this is his chance to attack. He wants that podium spot. Laps are winding down quickly.
And the big thing here, I know I keep bringing up tires, but Keegan mentioned it too. Tire deg is huge here, especially on a hot track. These guys are both on reds. They are both battling super hard, and the harder they battle each other, the further ahead Cerwick and McCourt will get, which means it's going to be a lot harder for them to gain positions further on in this race. So these guys are going to duke it out for that third position. It is a podium spot, but they're hurting themselves in the long run. I realize Cerwick's gap is pretty large over these guys in third and fourth, but you've mentioned multiple times you never know what can happen, and if you can save tires and sit behind someone and save a little bit of fuel and stretch it longer, why don't you?
Yeah, but down this back straightaway, or front straightaway, the straightaway, sorry, thinking we're at an oval. He's gonna have a lot of slipstream. And then you said here it's full throttle the whole time, so he could make up a good gap. Now 0.8 behind, but that could shrink quickly.
Very, very true. And I don't know who's following close behind them, but I don't think he is on the same lap. I think that's Nick Jadu back there, as we saw it spin a bit earlier.
Yep, and we always talk about who finished on the lead lap. Now the top 7, we were impressed that it was about 13 or 14 earlier, but now things have kind of worked themselves out.
Yeah, it is dwindling pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's tough to stay on the lead lap here. People so fast and very controlled. So one little incident and you're going back to the pits and going to drop. But people still fighting for position back there. We talked about Keegan Scott. He's only 3 seconds behind 17th, so definitely not out of it. And Tasky right behind Keegan. So
yeah, so Keegan must have just pulled that move off on Tasky. Like I said, bummer I wasn't able to egg him on into that one. But now they've got Eric Oliva in between them. So Eric Oliva looking to chase down Jake Jackson, but he's in traffic with the lapped cars. Hopefully Keegan doesn't hold him up too much, but you know that Daniel Tasky's just getting impatient back there. He wants to get back up and fight for that spot with Keegan.
Well, like he talked about, it's managing your race and being courteous to others. And that's difficult when you got a fast car behind you, and right behind him is another fast one where he doesn't need to let anyone through. So if this were a blue flag scenario, he'd be in trouble, but he's not close enough just yet for there to be any issues with letting Oliva pass.
And now that gap between McCourt and Cerwick has opened up to 20 seconds. Not quite sure how McCourt has managed to make up that much time. We see a replay here of Cerwick through turn 9. Like I said, it's real easy to send deep, and he just barely kisses that inner wall. Wing snaps back on. The magic of iRacing. He is back on track. He's going to try and do what he can to make up time. That front left winglet's bent up a little bit, though, so he is going to have some understeer through those high-speed corners.
Well, it's still impressive. I was going to point out before that incident, and there you see David McCourt in the pits. So he's taking his second stop, like you said, going back to the primaries. And this is when he'll fill up that fuel just enough to get to the end, 15 laps to go. So, and there you see second place diving. But I was going to say, Andrew Cerwick, 9 seconds behind. For him to have a spin like that, stop, reverse, and then keep going and stay in second is impressive. It shows his speed as well.
Definitely a true statement there. Nick Jadu looking to the inside of Derek Stack. They are not racing for position, but Jadu's going to get out in front of him there. Derek Stack looking to get the draft down the back stretch to try and take that on-track position back. Again, we do not want to see them go side by side through the inner loop here, but he is looking for it. Will they hold hands and will it stick? No. Derek Stack backs out of that one. Nick Jadu clean through the inner loop this time around. Derek Stack is our current leader of this race. He's a stop behind the projected leader of David McCourt, who is now back out on track. So when we cycle through this pit sequence, it'll be interesting to see where Derek Stack ends up, because right now David McCourt's only 2 seconds behind him. So David McCourt, quite the gap on everybody else in the field.
And Andrew Cerwick only 5 seconds back. Oh, I'm incorrect. I read it wrong. Ignore that statement. But David McCourt still, yes, he will be the leader. Whoa, Keegan. Didn't think Andrew Cerwick was going to make that move. That was a lot closer than Keegan was probably thinking, being a lap down.
Well, I did the quick maths, and it looks like Cerwick's about 22 seconds behind McCourt now. So he used that fast repair, got that front left winglet fixed, got some new tires, topped off on fuel, and he's back at it. So right now he's just crossing his fingers that David McCourt gets involved in something, which is very possible as he's in some traffic right now. Obviously that's not the way we want to see someone taken out of the lead. We see a replay of Tanner Long here.
The Bitcoin car.
Wow, just a little wide. It's so hard to judge how much speed to carry through those corners, man. And he just pours salt on the wound there.
I'm wondering if he thought someone was coming quickly and was trying to get out of the way, and in turn that created that. But unfortunate for him to full throttle into the wall there.
Yeah.
There's David McCourt. That just shows his speed. Derek Stack, he is on older tires, but still hasn't pit for the second time and getting caught by second place. Just so impressive.
Yeah, and you make the mention of fresher tires. Of course, David McCourt back to the black primaries, so these will last him the rest of the race. And Derek Stack is out 11 or 12 laps after he last pitted, still on that alternate compound, the soft compound, so he's got to be dying right now, trying to keep that car stable, keep it straight. Again, tough corner, turn 9 here. McCourt, you see a little bit of understeer on those blacks. They haven't quite got up to temperature yet. Loses a little bit of time, but David McCourt is in no hurry. Does not want to make a mistake. Let Derek Stack pit, and he is off. And you see Stack dive down the pit lane right now.
Yeah, but you could hear from David McCourt's onboard. He went about half throttle down through the boot, which was probably the smart idea. He knew there's a lot of time behind him. No one's really going to make that up, so it's just on him to keep the car clean, and he did it there.
Tanner Long, I believe, comes out right behind him. He is at least a lap down at this point, running back in P14. So the Bitcoin car, again, the price is not rising tonight, unfortunately, for Tanner Long. Charles Bertrand, though, only a second and a half back from Long, looking to make something happen here. If he gets a clean exit out of this loop, he might be able to make something happen. He is on the reds as well. I'm not sure if he's made his second stop, but he might be able to make something happen.
Yeah, but now Keegan running up in 15th. I'm wondering if he hasn't taken his pit. Was that, I believe
Tanner
that
Long
just
again.
happened.
Exit of the bus stop, it's killing people.
Yeah, different spot of the track, but after getting that fast repair, he's on fresh tires, just pit. Super unfortunate. We just saw him about 20 seconds earlier going up to the S's, and then we see that is the result.
James Williamson, again, some rough luck early on in this race, but he's right behind John Krauser right now, fighting for that 11th spot. This man, again, dedication, respect. He's up late right now. He's overseas, and he's always here every week, fighting. He's always in some sort of battle, too. So he's got to be stressed out all the time.
Yep, he's about 5 hours ahead, so pretty, I would say late, but I think it's early, about 3 in the morning. So good for him, though, making his road course excellent scene. So can we get the pit stops back up with the number people have made? I'm just wondering where Andrew Cerwick will come out after this few incidents. So yeah, he should get back to second. And right now, yeah, about 20 seconds behind. So David McCourt, with only 12 laps to go, still in a commanding position since he was from basically the first turn of the race.
You see these guys settle in a little bit here after their second stops. Some of them have taken it so far. Some of them still stretching out that second stint there. Tires getting a little bit old. They'll start to struggle a little bit, but we've got several groups of traffic throughout here in some tight battles. That's just, oh, we've got a replay again in the bus stop. Bertrand a little hungry on entry there. Clips the curb. Nice little jump into the wall. There goes the run. Wow, I can't speak. Maybe my concussion's still here. The right front, that whole corner's gone. That upright taken off. Wishbone's snapped. And not the good kind of snapping a wishbone. Looking for some good luck. Some bad luck there for Charles Bertrand. But as I was saying, a lot of close battles on track. You look throughout that track map we have on screen here on the broadcast. A lot of guys duking it out, trying to make up those final positions with only 10 laps to go here. And that's part of league racing, man. If you're looking for a league to join, looking for some good racing, run against the same guys every week, check out our second sponsor, Grid Finder, over at grid-finder.com. Grid Finder is the internet's only league search tool, and ARC is an approved Grid Finder league on there as well. You'll find over 1,000 other leagues featured on their site, so I'm sure, odds are, you'll find one that kind of suits what you're looking for. So head on over to grid-finder.com if you're looking to get yourself into a league and go have some fun times on track.
Now we're looking at James Williamson still trying to get John Krauser. He's been about 0.3 seconds behind for 2 or 3 laps at this point. Wondering if he knows there's 10 laps to go here. No reason to send it this early. Maybe he's waiting for a better opportunity.
Yeah, you know he's getting impatient back there, though. He's, again, one of those guys that's always kind of running up towards the front of the field. It's hard to see yourself with a double-digit position number next to your name, and I know he wants to at least get that top 10. He wants to get a little bit of an increase in points from where he's at right now. He's going to be chomping at the bit. He does not make that corner, takes the runoff, and is probably going to have some sort of slowdown.
Yeah, but now give Mark Feeney an opportunity to maybe chase after John Krauser. I wonder if he slowed down so much that it didn't automatically give him that slowdown. He doesn't seem to be taking any time back, but Mark Feeney has made up the gap after he missed that entry.
And he didn't lose too much time on Krauser either. He lost a little over half a second from where he was at. We don't know where he stands with push to pass. As I mentioned earlier, he could use that to get back up there, but now 2 close calls for James Williamson this race. As we saw the same thing on lap 1 earlier, not in the same spot of the track, but surprised he didn't get a slowdown, and as he keeps on going. But Mark Feeney is going to be right behind him. That green machine looking to do something special here. In the same place he started. That's P12 for Mark Feeney.
Yeah, but you can see at the top, running in second is RJ Conley. Made up 12 positions, but he is yet to pit that second time. So him, and in third place, Jake Jackson's going to drop down. And now I'll move Andrew Cerwick up.
Now, I haven't really followed too closely with what they've done. Yeah, it looks like Conley, Jackson, and Oliva have all only made 1 stop, but we didn't really get a good look at Eric Oliva throughout that first stint, as you see Jackson and Conley come in there. But I don't know, maybe Oliva was saving quite a bit of fuel, because I know he was further back in the field throughout that first run. I'm trying to do this in 1 stop, which would be pretty tough to save 4.5 laps of fuel throughout each 15-lap stint. And again, I am wrong, and he comes in the pits now. So, as I said last week, just don't listen to me, I guess. I like to think in terms of miracles, man. Like, I want to be a miracle worker when it comes to strategy, right? When you're starting in the back of the field, maybe qualifying didn't go your way that day. Why do what everybody else is doing? Why play the same cards? Why not take a gamble, roll the dice? You've got nothing to lose, right? So if you're ever starting in the back half of the field, try something different. It may work out.
Well, maybe they'll take that into the next road course, but today, nobody on that alternate pit cycle you were mentioning, or even a completely separate,
right?
Not even going to 2 stops. But maybe your next celebrity race, you can try that, see what happens.
Man, I wish they'd let me run another. I need to ask, but it probably won't happen this season. I'm sure next season, depending on how the actual IndyCar schedule lines up with it, hopefully I can run 1 or 2 of them. I like to get back on track a little bit. I like to compete. I also do like talking. Especially with you, Nick. You're such a great guy, man.
Oh,
I gotta give a shout out to you. It's enjoyable.
I appreciate it. Well, I'm gonna give a shout out to Jake Jackson. If he can make the move work, a little blocking there from Conley. Jake Jackson gonna run wide, and Conley gonna keep that position. Aggressive blocking there with only 7 laps to go.
And he's got the pizza man or the bean man, Cody Barrett, behind him in the 007.
It's got to be beans.
It's got to be. I don't know, man. All I'm saying is I'm not going to make another spy joke about him running the 007 this week. I know you guys loved it, but he's sitting back there. He's lurking.
Well, next time you're in the driver voice channel, maybe you can ask him as Nick Jadu just spins the tires a bit coming out of pit lane. Replay is still going. There might be another issue. Still getting up to speed. And that might bring up some tough memories for you, Will. Unfortunately, he loses it out of pit exit.
Yeah, when you light up those tires leaving the box, it's real tough. Oh, and James Williamson just a little bit wide through turn 6 there. Unfortunate that he was making a push to try and get back in that top 10 like we talked about earlier. Now he's a bit of a weeble wobble. Hits the wall again. Man, this sector of the track's just tough. Guys like to pour salt on their own wound.
Well, once you get yourself into a problem, you got to move quickly, but sometimes that quickness sacrifices other things. But unfortunate for him, he was running in about 16th. Now he's dropped a few more spots.
Now the real problem is I still can't tell what that livery is, and it's bothering me, but I'm confident it is not beans now after that last look we got at it.
Interesting.
I'm very confident it's not beans.
You think it's a pizza?
It's either a pizza or orange camo or all I know, dude, it's a pepperoni pizza. Look at it. If you guys are watching, go ahead and drop your guess.
Oh, it is a pizza.
Chat. It's got to be a pizza.
If you look on the front wing, you can tell there's very detailed pepperonis. It's just the middle of the scheme. They stretched out a lot. I think that's what's going on.
You can't even tell from this view, but the 007, the pizza delivery man, up through the S's. I think we've only got 3 cars on the lead lap now. So, again, David McCourt doing David McCourt things.
Yep, 3 cars on the lead lap. That just shows the dominance of the speed that he can carry, and the people that try and stay close to him can't even manage. 26-second gap, getting closer to that 40 seconds I predicted, but might not see it with 5 to go.
Right, and David McCourt soon is going to come back, or come up to the back of Daniel Taskey and then Mark Feeney, so he'll be in some lap traffic. I'm sure, like I said earlier, they'll let him by. And another replay. I don't like this. Joe Fierro here in the 12 car. Just a little loose, a little too much of the curb on entry of turn 8. The heel of that boot. Oh, and the battle here for P4 is outrageous. Jake Jackson taking some looks on the inside of RJ Conley, but RJ is not going to let him have it. They're going to head down here as Conley tries to break the draft on Jackson into turn 1, that 90-degree. Jackson slows up a little bit, focused on a good exit, runs a little bit wide, but he's going to have the toe up through the S's. It'll be flat out. We're going to get another look at Jake Jackson, maybe trying to go side by side on entry into the bus stop. I'm just not too confident he'll back out this time.
Yeah, only 5 laps to go, like we said. This is going to be a big move here. If he can get close enough.
Next lap, we'll run it back.
But he made up a good amount of time there. He's getting way closer to the back of RJ Conley.
You notice he just loses a lot of time on exit. That dirty air is crazy in the IR18 Indycar. It's really hard to keep up when you got a guy that close in front.
Oh, he's gonna have to slow down a lot there. Tried to get that extra speed, and he's definitely making up time. It's just will he burn off those tires?
And they're both on the red, so they're gonna burn quick. He looks inside into turn 8. They both compromise their exit speed a little bit there. Jake Jackson should be looking for a good exit here into 9. Locks up a little bit. Has to check up.
And this is opening up the window for potentially someone else to make a mistake. If one of these two were to make a mistake, Oliva, I know he's 20 seconds behind, but if they both go spinning, he could move up into the top 5. So very interesting to see how this one will play out, as now we're 4 laps to go, and they're both getting impatient, like you've said.
Yeah, Jackson pushing the car a little bit too hard there on exit. They've definitely burned through their reds. You see him wobbling, shaking a little bit. The car does not like it, but Jackson going to continue to have these drafts, catch up in those early sectors of the track, and then kind of drop off pace a little bit again because that dirty air through the tighter corners. So Jake Jackson, he's got 4 laps left to make a move, try and get into that 4th slot. You just see him go a little higher than Conley in front of him. It's real hard to stay on that guy's gearbox and try and make something happen. And Conley's not letting him have it at all.
No, he's blocking off these entries that he's looking for, and that's causing an issue. Jake Jackson really sets it deep. Oh, he gets a little loose off the curb, but managed to keep it, and he's going to drop back a few tenths of seconds.
They're both just through their tire life. It's crazy when you see a mid-corner and the car starts to jerk a little bit. That rear end is not happy. See him a little lighter on the throttle that time on exit. Lets off quite a bit. I don't know if he just misjudged that or if he's trying to get a good run, no dirty air, but he gave up quite a bit of time. Back to RJ Conley, who's now over a second in front of Jake Jackson.
Well, I'm wondering if his mindset is top 5. Just make it work as he gets wide. Yeah, he may have just been, you know what, I'm not going to send my car off into the fence just because I'm fighting for one position. Maybe top 5 is enough today.
Right, and you never know. He could be using push to pass on those runs there down the straightaways. He could be misjudging his braking zone a little bit, but we've got word from production that both RJ Conley and Jake Jackson each have 3 push to passes left. Conley obviously would be looking to use them in defense, but Jake Jackson looking to use them to catch up. But if he keeps using them, he can't misjudge that braking zone and then lose the time right back in kind of just a wash in that situation.
Well, laps are counting down. Not too much time to make up this gap. As you see, 1.2 seconds behind. He's going to need a huge slipstream. We've seen it happen. He can get that extra run of speed. It's just when is he going to use those push to passes with only 3 laps remaining? It might be 1 per lap at this point.
Right.
Use them if you have them.
You just continuously see Jake Jackson push it too wide on exit of all those higher speed corners, and it's one thing to do it once or twice when you're chasing somebody down, but at some point you got to realize, hey, if I keep it smooth, if I keep it on track, if I stay in the draft, eventually I'm gonna have something. But we're 4 or 5 laps or so into this tight battle now, and Conley's just starting to run away with it. Open that gap up to almost 2 seconds. Jake Jackson's made too many mistakes. As you see him go wide on the exit of 1 again, just simply not adjusting to the current state of his stint with lighter fuel load, worn out tires, probably on push to pass. Got Mark Feeney looking to the inside here. I think that's some lap traffic. But he's only 5 seconds back from Cody Barrett, and Matthew Rice close behind Mark Feeney, looking to make a move for P8.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. He's not going to make the move here, but he could try it in the S's. Oh, he's going to have to go to the side. Feeney got loose on the curves. We've seen that happening a lot today. And good wreck avoidance there from Matthew Rice.
Whoever is ahead of them is definitely making this battle a lot tougher for Mark Feeney. You're going to look to the outside. That car lets him by. See ya. But Matthew Rice gives up a lot of time on entry into that bus stop, and Mark Feeney starting to pull a little bit of a gap. Matthew Rice is going to have clean air. Great turn there from Rice. Trying to pull Feeney just a little bit closer. The thing here, like I was saying with Jake Jackson, though, is you don't want to get too greedy and over-push those corners. You end up losing time. I mean, we've got a little over a lap left here. And Matthew Rice is going to have to close this up pretty quickly if he wants to get that 8th spot.
We're going to see him back out early down to 3rd gear, really keeping it low, but he gets on the gas earlier than Mark Feeney, and he's going to have a big run. Potentially coming out, lockup from Feeney. He goes off to the side, and that opens the door. Matthew Rice will take that position easily.
And Matthew Rice, the main thing here is he's got to have one last clean lap. No mistakes. Not sure where Feeney and Rice stand on push to pass at this stage of the race, but Rice is already out to almost a second ahead of Feeney. So as long as Rice keeps it clean here, that 8th spot should be his.
And the white flag is out for David McCourt, up to nearly 30 seconds. And again, it seems I was wrong. 10 seconds off.
I just
Still
had to be
impressive.
the first to tell you. I couldn't let you tell yourself before I did it. I just had to let you know that. So
No, you're right.
you're wrong,
regardless,
but hey, you made a prediction. I didn't.
Well, okay. If we're going to check our game notes, I think we made about the same percent of wrong calls here today. But regardless.
Maybe. Hey, a lot of mine was theoretical. I guess yours was too. Hey,
that's the definition.
We don't need to talk about that. We want to talk about definitions. We can go back to Indy, talk about penultimate with Keegan. Sorry, that's still the funniest one of the year.
Driver's still in a straight line here. trying to make it around one last time. David McCord, 30-second lead. Just a fantastic drive once again at Road America. Over a minute here, 30 seconds. Every race on these road courses, it's a domination, and just another round of applause for him today.
We need to get back on board with Feeney if we can, because he is still close behind Matthew Rice. Again, David McCourt taking the checkered. Another dominant win. I say it every time, it seems like.
And there's
Feeney
Feeney.
not going to be able to catch Rice on this one.
Jackson only 0.5 seconds behind, but not too much room to work with here.
Well, they're done, aren't they? They're not done.
They're going to race to the line.
Duh.
So we could see a huge send here. Still going full speed for sure. That's RJ Conley. Might have to block. He's going to give him the outside. Jake Jackson getting loose. Going to go up the racetrack. And that might be it. Keegan going to get in front of him, but not from position. Jake Jackson waves the white flag coming through the final turns.
Keegan's going to let him have it, isn't he?
Oh, they're racing.
Yeah,
there he goes.
Yeah,
well, Jake
sorry
Jackson.
on the mistake of what lap we were on. Obviously, we saw McCourt finish. I forgot those guys were a lap down. It's pretty unique to see guys battling for the 4th spot be a lap down, but Conley's going to hold on to that one. Keegan in the Tiffany blue, you see him there finishing 12th.
Yeah, I want to bring up with Andrew Cerwick when we get these podium interviews, how impressive it was that he could spin it, reverse, go back, and stay in second the rest of the race. So good job from him, trying to keep the pace. He had a few spins, but regardless, still in second. And Derek Stack, we saw him fighting some other people throughout the day, but he comes home in P3.
Yeah, pretty solid race overall from Derek Stack. Managed to keep it clean for the most part, from what we saw at least. But again, the man in purple and white, he's up there. He's got a podium finish tonight. So we should have our top 3 each come in one by one for an interview. So we should be talking to Derek here soon.
Well, there you see your finishing order on the left side. Unfortunate for Joseph DuPont. That's 2 weeks in a row. He wrecked out in the first 10 laps. But I'm sure he's coming back. He qualifies so well. It's just on those fresh tires, he seems to just give it a little too much gas consistently. But that's something you can clean up pretty easily. Just a little more conservative racing, and he'll be up here on a podium eventually.
And we've got Derek in the booth now. Derek, congrats on your 3rd place finish tonight. You managed to run a pretty solid race, keep it clean. I just want to ask you, something that we had talked to Keegan about in his onboard interview. How were the tires tonight? It seems like a lot of people were getting quite a bit of tire deg.
Yeah, they were falling off pretty quick, especially the reds, but I honestly just went as slow as possible. Really took it easy, but yeah, they fell off pretty quick if you were pushing.
Well, we saw earlier you were fighting some people pretty much the whole race. Do you think that being conservative in those, just seeing where people would make a mistake, was your idea, or you would fight them pretty aggressively and that's how you got that 19-second lead on 4th place?
Yeah, in the first stint especially, I was just letting people go if they were looking quicker than me in the rear view. The second stint I was on red, so just tried to keep it nice and steady, but I think I had a pretty decent, consistent pace. And then, honestly, I had no idea where it all was going to shuffle out with the pit stops, and I was very surprised to see where I ended up after the second stop and kind of just cruised there, which was, I have no idea how I ended up here, honestly.
Yeah, well, we talked about, I think there were 3 people. You were one of them on the lead lap at the end, so good job driving. 3rd place. Congrats, man.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Nice finish.
Thank you.
Well, next we have Andrew Cerwick in 2nd. He made a pretty valiant effort there, staying on pace with David McCourt, but after that first pit stop, got kind of cycled out, but still 2nd place. Andrew, how do you think that race went for you?
That was quite eventful. I had a lot of guys spin in front of me, so that was some brown pants moments for sure. But yeah, otherwise it was a pretty decent race, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we saw you spin it a little bit there. You then caused a little more damage to yourself, but somehow managed to get the car back on track and stay in 2nd place. Can you tell us a little bit about that incident and what happened there?
I just lit up the rears coming out of what is that, turn 9, just lit them up a little too hard, and around I went almost, and put it in the wall. Luckily there was no suspension damage, so I was able to finish out that stint, which was just one more lap anyways. So
Right.
I was keeping pace with David all race, so if I didn't have that or anything, I think maybe could have at least finished a little bit closer, but it's just way too quick for me today.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the main thing there was Williamson trying to hold him off on that first lap, starting on pole tonight over McCourt, but Williamson got a little bit of the grass on exit of the bus stop, and then from there, McCourt just kind of ran away. Williamson held you and Joseph DuPont up a little bit, which led David McCourt to be able to stretch that gap. But like you said, you kept pace with him. You had one mistake. The tires were tough tonight. They were tough for everybody. Believe me, on the broadcast, we were seeing people spin left and right. So congrats on that second place finish. You've gone 1-2 the last couple weeks, and hopefully you can put something together at Phoenix.
Yeah, here's hoping, good result today, and just going to try to close that gap up in the championship next week at Phoenix.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it, man. Congrats on that second place finish.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Well, there it is, your top 2. We're going to have David McCourt here in just a moment. Excited to talk to him, and he is here. So David McCourt, I just want to let you know, first off, I was betting on you to be 39 seconds ahead. I had you a second a lap faster than second place. You finished 30 seconds, but regardless, great win, good drive.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pretty quiet one. I was expecting an uphill battle with not getting beaten to pole and having a couple of quick guys up there as well, James and Charles and I forget who was in fourth, but it was Joseph, and it seems like they all hit trouble pretty early on. James and I had made an agreement that I wasn't going to try a pass onto the bus stop, and so I was sitting behind him, and I'm not sure if he got cut up on the curb or what, but then it was pretty easy to sail past him, and the race was pretty smooth sailing from there, so it was a good one.
Yeah, we were, I don't know if questioning is the word. We were curious on what you were thinking going to those reds in the middle of the stint. Will was saying it might have worked out as well if you took the normal compound there and then went to the other reds at the back end. Do you think that the reds in the middle was just to pull a bigger gap, or what would you say the reasoning behind that was?
So that ended up being a 9-lap stint. I actually took 10 laps of fuel because I wanted to feel out whether it made sense to go an extra lap on the reds or switch to the primary tires early. So the reason I chose to do it in that order was just to leave the strategy open one way or another.
So yeah, and Nick mentioned that was something I was kind of not questioning, but curious on, because if I'm running the race, I would have saved them for the end there. But I totally understand what you did, especially now that I know you shorted yourself on fuel in that stint to keep the car as light as possible. Because I was real curious. A lot of guys went to that red alternate compound on that second stint, and I was wondering, these guys, they're not filling up all the way on fuel, are they? Making the car heavier to then short fuel on the last stint on blacks. But obviously worked out for you. Smart choice on taking the extra gallon too, by the way. And obviously it didn't really end up making much of a difference anyways. You are the dominator on these road courses. It's a sure fun thing to watch.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a fun one for me. I would have loved to have been fighting with a few of the guys who it seems like ran into some trouble. But maybe next time we'll all be up there together.
Well, congrats on the win again. Once again. Yeah, exactly.
Jinx. Congrats on the win, man. Hopefully we see you at Phoenix, and we're glad you got your stuff fixed so you're able to join us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we're going to run through these results here. David McCourt, we just talked to. First place, Andrew Cerwick second, Derek Stack in third. Then RJ Conley, Jake Jackson rounding out the top 5. Eric Oliva sixth. Cody Barrett in 7th, Matthew Rice 8th, Mark Feeney 9th, and John Krauser in 10th.
Yeah, and then followed up 11 through 18, Joe Fierro, our co-caster Keegan Scott with his attempt tonight at one of his favorite tracks, finishing P12, followed by Craig Bray, Mark Harrison, Daniel Taskey, James Williamson, our pole sitter, finishing back there in P16, Nick Jadu and Charles Bertrand, followed up by Tanner Long in 19th and Joseph DuPont in the final spot, P20, after we saw him take himself out early on in this race while trying to battle for that lead. Overall, great race, 39 laps of action here at Watkins Glen. Hopefully all of you guys enjoyed it. That's it for round 9 of the Apollo Racing Club iRacing IndyCar Series. I just want to say thank you to Nick and thank you to Elliot for the production. It is a pleasure working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to next week at Phoenix.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you then, 9 p.m. Thursday night.